So let's look at the journey that I started taking about 6 weeks ago. Now, due to, I was very blessed in this way. Let me tell you a little bit about my life story. When I had to go and study, my father wanted all his children to study, so he made provision for that. I didn't do anything to deserve that privilege. It was an absolute privilege, but you don't know it at that time. But I did my best. So I started off studying a BA General with one of my specialization subjects being psychology. I always wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to help people. I absolutely wanted to step up and go like, how can I be of service? How can I help you to heal? In my third year of university, me and the lecturer had a disagreement. And I still remember in those days walking to the payphone and phoning my dad and going like, what now? Because I'm not going further with psychology. It's not going to work for me. Due to what this woman is saying, this is not what I want to do. I do not want to prescribe medicine if it is not needed. If there are things that I can give to people to help them, that's what I want to do. If they need meds, then meds they need to get. But I don't want that to be the first avenue that I go to. Long story short, I did education. So I finished my degree with psychology as my major. And then I went into education and I did my PGCE. And I grew up with a mom that was a teacher. That helped a lot because education just made sense. It clicked. And I was very blessed and privileged to work under a female principal. I don't think she will ever mind me mentioning her name because I really have got the world's respect for her, Mrs. Leroux. And let me tell you, everything I know about education, that woman taught us. And not just me, a lot of the teachers that came out of college, so to speak, had the blessing of working with that woman. And she had very, very strict rules. But in the same breath, she equipped us with an amazing amount of skills that I have never regretted. She was very strict and she was, I almost want to say rigid, until her grandchildren were born, and then she became an absolute softie. And we got to see another side of her. That being said and done, during my 14 years in education, I had a deputy principal that pushed in a nice way, not push like force, but support, guide, and keep on, pushing a little bit, that I needed to get into the school-based support team. School-based support team is somebody that supports the learners, the educators, the parents. You support learners with needs that have got barriers to learning. You support the learners by providing counseling services at a school level. And then a lot of the times the parents need counseling, and sometimes our teachers need a little bit of help or just an ear to listen. So I did my basic counseling through that, and without you really knowing it, you are life coaching as well. Because you get to a point where you realize listening to what this person is saying to you is not enough. They need a way to go forward. And the only way to do that is by giving them alternatives. Like, try this. And if it doesn't work, let's try that. And if that doesn't work. So you're life coaching and you are counseling. And my journey in education continued, and I stepped out as a deputy principal. And the reason I stepped out is a bunch of events that transpired that led me to confirm the belief that I need to step out of education. I didn't take this lightly. Stepping out of a position and a job where you have got a pension, you've got a medical aid, you've got a stable salary, you've got your working hours, you've got your rhythm. I mean, after 14 years, you develop a rhythm and providing for my children. And here I am stepping into a life coach position and a counselor position. I'm running my own online business, which is a challenge because people don't get that counseling and coaching can happen online. Stepped out end of 2019. Went overseas for a month to go and visit my sister, who I haven't seen in many moons. But I got to see her. And we got to spend time together. The most amazing soul journey that month was an absolute blessing. And then I came back 2020 and I started my business and sent the kids off to school and go ahead with my plans. And I sat down while the kids were at school before COVID, before the lockdown. And I sat down and I wrote that I want a successful business. I want my business to thrive. Why? Am I in this to generate as much money as I possibly can? And the answer is no. I'm in this because there are people that need help. And they know they need help, but they don't know how to reach out. And through the hard lockdown, the Lord provided customers, not millions, not thousands, not hundreds. We're talking single digits, single digits. But in that way, I slowly stepped into the next phase of my life. Do I want to be a life coach or do I want to be a counselor? What do I want to be? Because I'm a firm believer that you cannot split yourself in two and go for two things at the same time. You're diverting your energy, you're diverting your focus. And it gets overwhelming. That's the only reason. It might get overwhelming. So 2020 happened. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I've also in my personal life made up my mind that I am willing to step into a new relationship. And I kept on looking out for the new partner and it didn't happen. And I kept out looking for the new partner and I made a very detailed list. And when I tell you a detailed list, I mean physical, emotional, financial, sexual, every pillar. I wrote down what I am willing to accept. There's a difference there, which we will get to. What standard am I okay with? Not a wishy-washy, whatever happens. With the journey that I've taken before this, I knew exactly what I am allowed or allowing for myself. I had clear vision, and that came through journaling. At the end of 2020, if I've got my dates right, just saying, I know I resigned at the end of 2019, that I can remember, but at the end of 2020, I think, Yeah, we're now in 2022, ne? Yeah, 2020. I did meet the gentleman. And if I tell you that he ticked all the boxes on the list that I made, I am not joking. I literally, in the list that I made, did not specify his height. I didn't. I said, I don't mind. And I didn't specify body type. I don't mind. Because I am not exactly a model. I'm not. Not in looks and not in weight. So who am I to expect different things from somebody else? It doesn't bother me. That's not where my focus lies. But the spiritual, emotional, intellectual, that for me was a priority. And all of those boxes were ticked. And even the unspecified boxes, the ones that I said, I don't mind, they got ticked because, if you don't have a specification, then the box gets ticked in anyway. And I moved to Howick in 2021. I moved to Howick. I packed up and I moved. And if I tell you that there was absolutely no resistance with anything that transpired, I am not lying to you. What do I mean with resistance? Resistance is when things start going wrong and you don't accept it, or it doesn't go wrong, it doesn't go according to your plan. So let me give you an example. I needed somebody to move the furniture down to Howick, obviously. And with them moving the furniture, I simply phoned one guy and I said, listen, this is what needs to transpire. What do you need from me? And he had a space available at the space that I wanted to move, and the process unfolded. At no time was there a dispute about a deposit, which actually was his way of doing things. I said to him, I don't feel comfortable with just paying the whole amount, blah, 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 Batman. But anyway, so resistance comes down to the fact that you have planned something out in your head. You have a clear idea of where you want to go and how you want it to be. Now you get to a situation where what you envisioned is not transpiring. If you keep pushing to do that same thing, you are the one that's creating the resistance. Where if you look at the situation and you go like, okay, clearly that is not supposed to happen now. Let's take a breath and rethink this whole thing. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe blah, 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 blah. Whatever the case may be. If I tell you today that the kids said that we should move to Howick before the time frame that I thought, okay, much later, December. They thought, let's move in March, let's do that. They approached me. I didn't breach the subject. The kids did. They came to me and they recommended that we move. I'm not lying to you. The guy that was supposed to move us, it happened. It flowed. It just absolutely flowed. We didn't get any resistance, anything that gave me second thought of whether this was the way to go. And my friends, my tribe, they know who they are. They knew that I always wanted to move to the mountains. Absolutely always wanted to move to the mountains. It's a passion. And here I am today. I basically stay in between the mountains. I still have my counseling online, but the next journey on how I found my office space is actually the one that I want to discuss with you. So new video coming up now. Right. Love you. Bye.